So the 80-20 rule, we've all heard of it, right? Pareto's principle, the principle that says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts, that 80% of your aggravation comes from 20% of your clients, that 80% of your income comes from 20% of your clients. We've all heard about the Pareto principle. And we've all been told to try to apply this in our business. You know, there's that old saying about 100% of my business comes from 50% of my advertising. The only problem is I don't know which 50%. Well, that's one of the challenges about applying the 80-20 rule, the 80% success rate Pareto principle, because we don't always know which 80% of our efforts are leading to 20% of our results, and which 20% of our efforts are leading to 80% of our results. That's the big challenge with the Pareto principle, but there are other challenges, and I would suggest to you there's even a danger in applying the Pareto principle in your business. Now, if we're talking about decluttering our clothes closet, not a lot of danger there. It's true. We all know this, that 80% of the time we wear only 20% of the clothes in our closet. And the other 80% of the clothes in our closet, we don't really touch except once in a very blue moon every time we go through our closet and say, I really should wear that. Then we don't, and we keep it. So if you're decluttering and you declutter 80% of your closet, that's probably a good thing. And you know what? From the 20% that you have left, which is now 100% of your closet, you're probably still only going to wear 20% of that 20%, right? Which is the 100%. But this might be dangerous to apply in your business, and I'll tell you why. There's a guy named, before I brought props, right? 80-20. Okay, thank you. It was worth lugging to the park. So there are issues with the 80-20 rule, and I'll tell you what one of them is. And it's really nicely laid out. Well, he doesn't talk about the 80-20 rule, but Emanuel Rosen in The Anatomy of Buzz, one of the best books ever written, I think, for entrepreneurs, talks about the importance of weak ties. You know how you go to a networking event and they say, it's all about long-term relationships. If you show up for 603 years, you'll find your network brings you all your clients. Yeah, well, that's nice, and it may or may not be true. Not true. But it's more true that 80%, well, I'm not even going to talk percent anymore because it's not about percent. It's true that a lot of the opportunities that you get in your life don't come from those strong ties, those people that you see every week at your local networking meeting. A lot of times those opportunities come from the weak ties. The Pulitzer Prize winning photographer that I met in the hallway of a hotel in Dallas, who became my client, I saw her for like 7 seconds. I didn't know her. Weak ties. The person on LinkedIn, thank you very much, who referred another client to me. I don't even know this first person. I happen to be connected with her, or maybe she just saw my content, but she referred me to this other person who brought me another client. That was a very weak tie that led to a very big opportunity. The person at another networking meeting, whom I didn't know, who told me about this national TV documentary, and they ended up doing a national TV documentary about me. That was a totally weak tie. I found that in my life and in my business, the weak ties are even better than the strong ties. I mean, it's great to have supporters, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I think you can take this 80-20 rule too far. If you try to cut out the 80% of people that you think are not contributing to your life or business, and you try to stay with the remaining 20%, I think you might be making a very big mistake, and I think that that could be very dangerous for your business. So I want you to leave me a comment, please. Let me know what 80% of your efforts do you think bring 20% of your clients? Have you found that the 80-20 rule is true in your business? Do you find it's not true in your business? There's a story in The Anatomy of Buzz about a very young Elon Musk. No, we're not going there, but apparently he was looking for startup capital for funding, and his strong tie didn't pan out. But a weak tie came through. His landlady weak tie told him about somebody who told him about somebody, and he ended up bing, bang, boom, getting his funding. Again, I don't know if the story's true. I imagine it is. Why would Emanuel Rosen lie to us in such a great book? I'm sure he didn't. Let me know in the comments how this has worked for you, whether you apply the 80-20 rule, whether you believe in the power of weak ties like I do. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Sufeed out.